I'm Beth Perrell. Today we're going to talk about Lighthouse Central Florida with my guest, Donna Esbensen, Chief Financial Officer, and Perry Athanason, who is with Program Services. Thanks to both of you for being here. Donna, tell us about Lighthouse Central Florida.
Lighthouse basically is a not-for-profit. We have a new entity that's Lighthouse Works. They both work towards the mission of living, learning, and earning with vision loss. We cover a 3-county area. We serve Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County, and we've been here since 1976, so we're one of the older not-for-profits in Central Florida. We provide training that's lifelong training. It begins with our early intervention program, which is for infants to kindergarten age. We have school age services. We have transition, which works with young adults from the ages of 14 to 22. We have adult services that cover a full spectrum of vision rehabilitation, including independent living skills, Braille, orientation and mobility, and access technology. In addition to that, Lighthouse Works provides services and training for persons who have vision loss who want to be part of the working world, and that's our newest entity.
So, in other words, people contact you for specific needs they have, or do you help them define those needs?
A combination of both. It depends on, in part, the age of the person. If it's a newly blind adult, they generally come to us at the directive of a doctor, an optometrist, an ophthalmologist. It could be an endocrinologist. For children, the path is a little different because very often the children we see have multiple handicaps, multiple disabilities. So it may be that the first attention is given to the most critical disability the child's dealing with, but eventually if vision loss is part of it, they make their way to us. So the path is different for each and every person who comes to us.
And when you talk about vision loss or vision impairment, I imagine that's where a lot of the technology is coming into play, that you're finding whatever technology is going to help them
Absolutely.
in employment or school or
and
whatever.
When we talk of vision loss, it's not somebody who needs a pair of glasses. These are people who have significant vision loss, and it has specific definitions. A field of vision of less than 20 degrees, a very narrow field of vision affecting both of the eyes. All of these vision losses are bilateral, or best improved acuity of 2200. So these are people who cannot complete the normal tasks that you and I take for granted because of the impaired vision. But access technology is key. Information is critical whether you're 4 years old or 40 or 104. So access technology and ability to break the barriers that come with blindness is critical. And we are very adept in access technology.
And again, for the sort of living skills for the newly blind, you actually go into their home with them?
The majority of our clients come to us because we have a number of things in addition just to the skills training. It's the support network. Typically, when adults lose their vision, they may kind of drift around for a period of 2 to 7 years. So finding out they're not the only person with vision loss is a critical task. So coming to our facility, they work with another group of people who are going through similar experiences. But you're absolutely right. The first line of training skills is what's called independent living skills. It enables a person to act independently, to have autonomy in their own home, whether it's safety in the kitchen, organizational skills so that they know where things are and they can depend on their housemates keeping those things in the same order because organization is key. Also, financial ability to take care of their own bills. Nothing erodes a person's self-confidence as much as having to turn over driving and financial management to another person. So those are key skills we work on as a first level when we're working with the adults.
And it's a lot of the basic skills that we all take for granted that we do, pardon the pun, but with our eyes closed.
Absolutely.
It's making a cup of coffee in the morning, brushing your teeth, finding your toothpaste. These are things that need to be relearned all over again by an adult who has recently lost, all their vision. So the independent living skills class really focuses in on those particular skills, and like Donna said, to do it with safety. navigating around a kitchen with a stove that's on and a coffee pot that's hot. And, imagine taking your cup and then picking up the pot and not having that ability to watch where you're pouring. Next thing you know, you've scalded your hand. Little things like that people don't think of. We have to reteach, or we offer the ability to reteach those skills to those who have recently lost their vision.
So I was just trying to imagine myself doing that, pouring hot water into a cup. How can you teach that? Are there tricks of the trade, as it were, for knowing where edges are?
Well, actually, it's a profession. It's one of the newest professions, and it's one of the most threatened professions. There's very few schools in the country that produce what are called rehab teachers, vision rehab teachers. Yes, it's a profession. You're taught the techniques the same as you are in any other field of study, and they're critical skills. People make adaptations on their own where they don't have the chance at rehab, but this makes it much more organized. It makes it have a much higher rate of success. Also, it's not just the everyday, ordinary things that are essential. It has to do with those things that restore our self-worth. When a person sustains any type of change in their physiology, their physical ability, it affects their whole self-concept. So one of the things we work with are just the ordinary things of appearance. How do you know that you're wearing things that complement one another, that you haven't pulled out things that scream to the world, I can't see, or I have very limited vision? Putting on makeup for women, all of those kind of things may be seen as non-essential, but to the ego and the sense of well-being and self-confidence, they're critical. So they're all wrapped in there. But we have very highly skilled teachers. They're all professionally certified. And that's what they learn to do, the same as in any other helping profession.
And a lot of them are visually impaired as well.
Oh,
so
correct.
it's, when your teacher's visually impaired, that instills another level of trust and confidence in what that person's telling you, because they know what it's like.
Absolutely.
They've been there. They've taken those steps, and they're shining an example that you can do this. Don't be afraid. Take, one thing at a time, one step at a time, and next thing you know, you'll be doing all the things that you used to do.
That's particularly important in access technology. Virtually all of our access technology instructors are blind. And that puts aside the argument of I can't do it, because the instructor will say, you and I are the same. Neither one of us can see. I can do this. You can do this. At one point in time, I couldn't do this. How did I learn to do it? Through patience, through practice, and now I can do the things that you will be able to do. And it has a profound change. It's a game changer for a person who doesn't trust that they can be different. And many of the people who are impacted by adult onset vision loss are not techies by any chance, and yet their greatest access to information is through technology. So oftentimes it's just getting over the trauma of using a computer, getting over the reticence of thinking, I can't do it. I haven't been to school in 30 years. This is going back to school, but it's a school that meets your needs, not the needs of your instructor, not the needs of the principal or any of those. It's very individualized, and it goes with the aspirations, the goals, and an individual service plan.
Well, it almost sounds like in addition to learning something new, you're learning to forget something you did know.
In many respects, yes. You come to a newness of who you are and how you operate in the world. And I've even heard people say that I'm a better person as a result of vision loss. That's an incredible testimony, the triumph of the spirit.
Would you give us a couple of examples of someone who's come to you to get some of the independent living skills and how it went for them as all this process rolled out?
Absolutely. We have a gentleman working right now in our customer care center who had gone through a number of health issues. He had been very successful in a number of careers. He's well educated, but his life collapsed. His family collapsed, and he found himself in a sense of dread, a dread of the morning, a dread of the day ahead, and he was at the point of giving up. A neighbor told him about Lighthouse, and he came there with just the thought, well, anything is better than nothing. He is now fully employed. He comes to work every day, and I would say of our entire organization right now, we have 68 people working for us. He is one of the most enthusiastic and joyful people, and his self-esteem is not only where it was. I think it now relies on who he is as a person, not the car he drives, not the house he lived in, or not the balance in his checkbook, but a real genuine appreciation for who he is and his capabilities. That's one of 1,000 stories.
I suppose that's a good way to move into the area of employment and talking about both your employment skills training, but also you have, what is it called? Your
Lighthouse Works.
Lighthouse
with
Works?
an explanation point. Yes. We have a new entity. It is very new. It started October 1st this year. We actually had the trial balloon of this starting last year. At this point, we have 15 people working in our customer care center. We have 7 people working in our products division. Customer care center can go toe-to-toe with any call center in the country. The people there are highly educated and highly trained. And what they do pretty much is do quality assurance for other call centers. They see that traditional call centers are meeting the mark for the engagements that they have. Our other aspect of that is the products division. We do the Combat Lifesaver Kit, which is a military product. Every 20 soldiers or military personnel in the U.S. military carry with them a Combat Lifesaver Kit, which is what's used to triage an injury until the medics can get there. We provide the components for that Combat Lifesaver Kit. We have 7 people working in that. Since January, we've shipped $1,500,000 worth of product. Not nearly that much in profit, but this is a critical operation for the military. It brings jobs to Central Florida. It brings income to Central Florida. And in addition, it is saving $600,000 for the military as opposed to the other suppliers they had. And we're working with a local medical supply company. So there are many people in this community who are benefiting from this. This is just stage 1. We anticipate within the next 5 years that will employ well over 100 people and have business in the neighborhood of $20 million just for that one product.
So is this like a factory floor thing where they're putting these together?
It's components. It's light assembly. We do what is labeling. It's really critical to the military that every single item they get be labeled so that they know what lot number it came from, the expiration date. On medical products, a lot of them have very limited shelf life, so we have to make sure it's well labeled, well packed, and that it is a timely delivery. We have very little turnaround time, but if you think of the old notion of what happened in blind industries, it's nothing like that. We don't have any sweatshops. It's very dignified work that works on the skill of the individual. But the goal is that we continue to develop jobs for people who are blind. Right now, their employment rate, we very much moan as a country where our unemployment rate is. It would be the luckiest day in the world if blind people had an employment rate that was 10%. It's substantially more than that, regardless of their education. So we're hoping to change that in Florida. Florida is way behind the rest of the country. You can go to adjacent states and they have employment, say in a medium-sized town, 200 or 300 people who are blind. We are the largest employer of blind people in the state of Florida, and right now we're at 22.
Yeah, well, you said earlier you've been around since 1976.
But that was in rehab services.
Yeah.
We began rehab services in 1976. We began employment services 2 years ago.
And so, so you're the ones more or less establishing this.
We are, absolutely.
A lot of that's an offshoot of the relationship established by the National Industries of the Blind.
Absolutely. Yes, we're an affiliate of National Industries for the Blind, has 96 affiliated agencies, and they have an agreement with the military on the particular project we're working with, but they have been a long-established supplier for the U.S. government through legislation going all the way back to in the 1930s. It's called the JWAD Act. and it provides opportunities for people with disabilities. There's 2 divisions of this, NIB, National Industries for the Blind, and NISH, which works with all other disabilities. But the government is required to give a certain portion of work to persons with disabilities because of the longstanding problems with unemployment, as I said, going back to the 1930s. That unemployment and underemployment rate, when you put the 2 together, is in excess of 70%.
The man you were talking about, is he working with that program or a different one?
He's working with us. We're an NIB affiliate. He's in our customer care center.
I know that in part this is actually bringing in revenue that you can apply to all of your programs.
Absolutely. This year we will generate a positive cash flow. It won't be monumental this year. Next year we anticipate fully bringing in $250,000 that can be what's called redeployed to our rehab facility. Rehabilitation dollars have been dropping consistently the last 4 or 5 years. So not only was this more in line with our mission, living, learning, and earning, it was critical in the long-term stability of Lighthouse Central Florida in providing comprehensive vision rehabilitation.
You know, one thing I want to do right now is back to something you said earlier, that a friend let that man know about Lighthouse. Mm-hmm. You're here with me now. Let people know what you can do for them, and that way if another friend is listening, they can pass the word on.
Lighthouse is the single source of vision rehabilitation and a not-for-profit. The person coming to us does not have to pay for any of the services. If you know somebody who has vision loss, whether that person's a child, an adult, whatever, we very much are here to serve them. And we have lifelong learning. A lot of vision loss is gradual. A lot of it comes in stages. A person might have an incidental episode that renders them needing a small segment of our services, but because of a genetic defect or some other affliction, they may have increased need over time, and they may begin with services in the children's program, and we might not see them again till they're in the middle of adulthood. But again, it's that living, learning, and earning so that you can fully enjoy all aspects of life. A lot of people, when they come to us, the thing that they begrudge most in their loss of vision is the fact that they had a pleasurable hobby or something of that nature. Many people wouldn't consider that important. If it affects the quality of your life, your enjoyment of life, that's something that we want very much to assist with, so that each day you wake up with a feeling of jubilation that you're alive, that you're healthy, and that you're going to make the best of this day. It makes a difference to you, your family, and it makes a difference to the community.
And it's important for them to note that that mindset doesn't come easy. I mean, one of the things I hear a lot when I talk to our clients is, you know, when they lost their vision, they felt hopeless. They were scared. They figured, what am I going to do now? It's, you know, why try to get into things that I'm not going to be able to redo? And they just almost gave up. And it's important for those people to understand that, or at least to know that there is a place here in Central Florida where they can meet people just like them who have experienced all the trials and tribulations that they are currently going through, and that it's a fun place. It's a friendly place. It's a hopeful place where they can learn at their own speed, at their own comfort level. You know, we have people now who receive services and they stay. They're now volunteers. They come in every day and just help with others, and they cook, and they, you know, it's just a great place to be. So I guess the message is, you know, don't be afraid. It's yet another stage in your life. By no means does it define you. And, you know, we're here, Lighthouse is here, and all the people associated with Lighthouse are here to make that transition much easier.
And people can learn more at LighthouseCentralFlorida.org.
That's correct.
And I know, Perry, you wanted to just mention some ways that people can help out by participating in some events. You want to talk about that?
Sure, absolutely. You know, two things. You know, if you know somebody who is losing their vision or has lost their vision, make sure you refer them to us. You know, as Donna said, all of our services are free. There's no charge to them, and it can be a game changer and a life changer for them. And for those who are sighted in the community, you know, I encourage all community members to get involved in a nonprofit. not just Lighthouse, but whatever nonprofit that speaks to them. Personally, I think Lighthouse is, I would encourage people to get involved in Lighthouse, whether it's becoming a donor or a volunteer. We have several events coming up that I think people can learn more about Lighthouse and enjoy themselves. We have what we call a Party in the Park coming up April 26th. It's a Friday evening. It's being held at the Winter Park Farmers Market, and this is an all-you-can-eat and responsibly drink event. And all the proceeds for that get funneled back into services provided by Lighthouse. We have what we call the In the Blink of an Eye tour. If you're interested in learning more about what life is like with vision loss and how Central Florida and how Lighthouse is helping address that, come into our office. We'll blindfold you. We'll put a pot of coffee in front of you. We'll say, I want a cup of coffee with 2 creams and a little bit of sugar. And that won't be hot coffee by any means, but we provide a tour and an experience for you to sit and listen to some of the people from the Lighthouse Works division, from our rehabilitation centers as well, and to learn what it's like for people living with vision loss. And that really strikes an emotional chord with people that come in. And I know it's kind of trying to maybe come in at 5 o'clock at the end of the day. You want to go home and hug your kids and make dinner. Every person that's come in and spent an hour with us has had some kind of awakening about what's going on in their community and around them. So I definitely encourage people to get involved. LighthouseCentralFlorida.org. You can learn so much about what we're doing and some of the upcoming events that we're hosting.
Well, if you are just joining us, we are talking about Lighthouse Central Florida, and I want to come back to you to talk a little bit more about, people coming in the door. Tell me how it's gone down for them. You said, for example, some children you'll work with and you won't see them again until much later. Mm-hmm. I would guess because then they come back to get some skills for school or work even.
Absolutely. Our children's program is to get a person a good start in life. The goal is to have them mainstreamed in grade school, and very often going to school itself is an adjustment, and we may not see them again until they go into our transition services. Transition services, I think the best story I can tell about the difference in the experience. We had one young man who was a failure in the school system. In fact, the school system did not know he had a vision loss, and he came from a family that was impoverished, a family that had a number of difficulties they were working through. And he'd been identified as a potential dropout and perhaps verging towards juvenile delinquency. And a social worker referred him to Lighthouse Central Florida, and he came in very reluctantly with a degree of belligerence. After a year in the program, there was a total transformation. First of all, the discovery of the degree of his vision loss. Once that was addressed and they knew the techniques and worked with the teachers in his school system, he went from a potential dropout to a very successful student. And he finished our program. He's gone to UCF. He's graduated from UCF, and now he's a member of our staff, helping other people with visual impairments. When the transition program started, which again serves 14 to 22, almost all of the participants got attendance diplomas. They did not get a regular high school diploma. They call them special diplomas. In the last 2 years, virtually every person who's of age to go on to secondary education is going on to college. This is remarkable when you see what's happening around the country. The people who are written off, and a substantial number of them are written off because people don't know the basic impediment to learning, which can be vision. So even if you know a person, you're a classroom teacher, and you have somebody and they just don't seem to perform, I would think that would be one of the places you'd start. We've seen evidence of it in what we do. And that particular person is a total joy to work with, and he is such a role model for others coming into the program.
And we see this at every age group as well, through every program. And we just learned that one of our early intervention students, a 5-6-year-old, she's 5.
Yeah, just turned 5.
Is now being entered into and streamlined into kindergarten with sighted peers. And she's going to go through the regular school system like everybody else. And this is a little girl who has severe vision loss. She has some other medical issues as well, but
Correct.
She's overcoming all of them. And stories like Donna has just told, we can find in each of our program areas.
We have 1,000 good stories to tell every year.
Yeah, how long is your show?
I know that I keep getting back to this, but I'm so fascinated about the person sitting down with, say, that 5-year-old and saying, okay, let's figure out a way to get where you need to be. That must be an amazing process.
It is. When we're working with the children, particularly the really young children, you're not only helping a child, you're helping a family. The expectation is you're going to have a beautiful, bouncy baby boy or baby girl. Well, for many people in this community, that's not what happens. And they have a child that's born, and the responses are not what they expect, not what the doctors expect. And it may be several weeks, sometimes it's even months before they discover that there's a severe vision loss. And for that parent, just working through their, I don't want to say disappointment, but their challenge, what it's going to be and what are their hopes and aspirations for that child and how they begin to modify them. Sometimes they just lose hope themselves. So what our early interventionists do is go out to go over with the parent what are the ramifications of this particular vision loss, and saying over and over that every child is different, that a diagnosis is not the child. A diagnosis is just that, a diagnosis. You may do better or worse, but that we're here with you the entire way, and that you and your child are going to handle this, and you're going to handle it in a way where that child can reach their full potential. If they're siblings, we involve the siblings in that. So it's the triumphs, that child who can't see and has no reason to reach for a toy, hearing something rattle and finally trusting to reach out the hand to grasp that toy, and the delight, the rattling, if it's a rattle, whatever it is, that transforms a family. It's their first real evidence of a connectedness beyond themselves when that child begins to crawl and all of that. And the same is true of an adult who's lost their vision and gone into their own little walled world where they don't know where they fit in the world. They don't know what they can trust. Breaking those walls down brick by brick is an incredible experience, and it transforms families. Very often, when a person loses their vision as an adult, their whole role in their family changes. Perhaps they were the chief supporter, income producer, and that's gone. So their role in the family is not what it has been. And that realignment of the family, and through vision rehabilitation, the realignment becomes a healthy realignment. So people understand that there is a need for one another, that interdependence. We all seek to be independent, but healthy families have interdependence where they know what are the roles and what are the responsibilities and obligations of each party. And it's really like very much watching the blooming of a flower. And it's not just an individual, it's a family.
Well, as we draw to a close, I want to give each of you an opportunity for any final thoughts, anything you want to remind us about. Harry?
Sure. Just one of the things I'd written down here, going back to access technology, we have a lot of people who are coming in now who are using the iPhones and iPads, and these are turning out to be amazing devices for people with vision impairments. The applications that are available to them, they are finding that their lives are much easier to navigate, and technology is much easier to navigate when they have sort of an assisted technology built right into their iPhone or iPad. So and you'll see this across the nation, and a lot of vision rehabilitation organizations are now implementing what they call iDevice training, specific to the little PDAs and smartphones that we all carry around. So there are classes available if you're interested in learning how to use your iPhone or iPad or whatever your PDA phone might be. Give us a call and let us explain to you that there are trainings in that level of assistive technology.
I believe a message I would leave is that we are all individuals. We all have challenges, and some of our challenges are visible and noticeable by others. Some people see a white cane or a guide dog, but in fact, we all have challenges. So treating a person as an individual, not as a person who has this or that that is their personal challenge, to welcome that person as an employer, a friend, a coworker. These are critical things that affect the well-being of both the person with the disability and the one without. So that just fair and open treatment of one another and acceptance of one another. That's one of the biggest impediments to somebody seeking vision rehabilitation, is the stigma that goes when somebody knows you have low vision or blindness. That's not who you are. It's just a small part of who you are. And you can have a full, complete, and happy life, whether you're visually impaired or fully sighted.
The website again is lighthousecentralflorida.org. My guests, Donna Esbensen and Perry Athanason, thanks for joining me today. I'm Beth Perrell.